All right, I have 5:10 on my computer, so I would like to start our first public hearing. I'd like to call this to order. Item 2, recording of the roll.
All present except for Commissioner Semo, who has an excused absence.
Okay. And this is a public hearing to hear comment on blight, and I just wanted to reiterate, this is on blight. We also have an issue at times where we deal with condemnations, and that's when we would have Mr. Hewitt looking at the structure of buildings. Here we're taking a look at blight. These folks have had 1, 2, 3 notices, so they were bringing it to the attention of the commission to see what kind of action we need to take. Are there any kind of circumstances that have led that the property could not be addressed? People are kind of asking more and more, why is this just coming up now? And each commission has their own goals, and this commission had a goal to fight blight or to be on top of blight. So that's why you're seeing more and more of this. Usually when they get to the point where they're at the third strike, this is when it comes to the commission. I believe we have over about 150 blight properties that Jason and Public Safety are working with right now. So when you see them come to the commission, we're here to hear comments on the property. Are there any circumstances? Hear what the neighbors have to say, and we're just kind of addressing what's going on with that particular property. So I just figured I would just kind of give a little notice on some of the things that we were looking at as far as like why we're seeing more and more blight on our agendas. So that being said, your comment on blight at 208 East Michigan, and we'll start off with Mr. Elgin.
208 East Michigan, we have sent actually 4 or 5 notices this year. What happened is we had sent a couple of notices. The property then changed hands to different owners. So we started over. The notices to this owner went on June 24th, all the way up until now. So there's been no progress whatsoever since June 24th. The new owner did come in and stated he had good intentions to clean the property up, but then has done nothing. So here's some pictures of the side of the house, the rear yard. There's debris all over. There was a tree that had fallen down, I think, a couple years ago. There's still all kinds of wood, branches, dead, all kinds of dead leaves. I mean, nothing's been touched there, probably. I know not this summer for sure. And I'm guessing the last summer too. And that's about it. I'd recommend we go in there and clean it up right away. I know there's some neighbors here that dealt with it for quite a while. It needs to be taken care of.
So we have 3 notices sent out, 1, 2, 3 strikes. We're dealing with debris. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Mr. Allen at this point. Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there are any members of the audience that wish to speak on 208 East Michigan Avenue, now would be the time. If you're able, please approach the podium.
Can I ask, is the owner here first? I'm sorry? Are you the owner?
No.
Is the owner here? All right. I'd rather have him, if they're here, have them speak first. That's fine. Go ahead.
I haven't seen either. As Jason said, supposedly it changed hands in June, but as a sidebar, it was never listed. I went to Zillow yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it's still showing the last time it was sold was 2012. He did say there was something in the local books, but if I had to guess, I'd say somebody just put it in their buddy's name, to start the process over. But I brought some photos with me that I'll leave with you guys, and some of them seem repetitive, but I started taking them in June, and I've been taking them like once a month up till Saturday of this past week. And there's one in here for the yard sale lady, because she's back at it. She's done it the last 3 weekends that I'm aware of, and she puts a sign at Harding and Douglas, and then she puts another one pointing at her house at 225 Harding. So, yeah, if you guys can clean this up, that'd be really great when I come back in June.
Where do you live in relation to this house?
209 East Harding. I look at it when I open my kitchen blind. I showed Jason when he came in. I look in my kitchen. And I just had Beaver take a bunch of trees out to try and get one of my trees to straighten out. So now I got a really nice view of it. And as I said, some of those seem repetitive, but I've been taking them like every 3 to 4 weeks since I got here. So that's all I got.
Sir, what was your name, please? I didn't-
Bob Rynish, RYNISH.
Again, this is a public hearing, so if there are any members of the audience that wish to comment on 208 East Michigan Avenue, on the blight circumstances we have there, now is the time to approach the podium and
Mike Breyer, 218 East Garden. I don't live right next to this, but every time I go visit the neighbors that do, it just jumps out at me. It's an area for a lot of rodents to collect, it seems. And it's overdue being cleaned up. Myself, I think the owners have more than enough time already to do something. And I think it's time it was cleaned up. And I'd like one little comment. I appreciate your help on 225 East Harding, cleaning up the blight there. I really appreciate it. I don't know if it would have got done if I had come to the meeting, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it did look a lot better after the peace officers came for the shear.
anybody else on 208 East Michigan? No? Okay, so this public hearing, and I will open the next public hearing. Looks like we're already on schedule, 5:15 for public hearing number 2. In public hearing, we are here to hear comments on blight on 430 Bonnie Street.
This public hearing is on a property up on top of Bonnie Hill, which was, I believe, abandoned by the owner. RTPW crew's been the only ones that have cut the grass all year. The neighbors that called complained. First notice went at the end of May for this property. There's been no progress, no contact, and all the debris by the garage needs to be cleaned up.
Commissioners, questions for Mr. Allen on 430 Bonnie? Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there are any members of the audience that wish to comment on the blight circumstances we have on this address, now would be the time to approach the podium and state your name. All right, I have nobody. I guess I will close this public hearing. Our regular meeting starts at 5:30. Looks like we have about 15 minutes to talk amongst ourselves and take a break. We'll resume in 15 minutes.
Probably spend a half an hour.
it's 100,000. Which one? Which one is so different?
What's your guys' feedback on that? Get them to me early.
Did you guys talk about the sign?
Is it just that?
It's just, yeah, there's a PDF called site, like engineering and site drawings.
Is that what they're gonna do? My mind, I changed.
It's the only thing that's on there.
You read it?
I read it.
That's good.
Working the streets at 6:30 in the morning.
So they're having, we'll have to talk about, we're gonna send someone up there, or just bring information. $100,000 plywood. All just gonna say.
Did you talk to Dave about Midland and Superior? That was later. That's 20 minutes after I probably talked to Steve about it.
Before tomorrow night, let's get 3
Well,
Item B, recording of the roll call.
All present except for Commissioner Seymour, who has an excused absence.
Item C, approval of the consent agenda. Are there any changes we need to be made aware of?
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towers, second by Commissioner Sin to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Mayor?
Yes.
Sim?
Yes.
Tower?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes. Item D, approval of the agenda. It is my understanding that item N, we just need to change the word approving to introducing.
The motion to approve the agenda as amended. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towers, second by Commissioner Kare to approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, citizens wishing to address the commission on items that are on the agenda. A 3-minute limit, please. And just a reminder to be respectful, no personal attacks, and to observe the time limit. So we have a comment on items that are on the agenda. Now is the time to approach the podium and state your name.
Yes, that's good. You know I talk a lot anyhow. Walter Ross sits here, discuss and considering the demolition of the building. That's the old Candy Studio building, right? For the library. Earlier this year, Ms. Mayor, you said the $5,000 was a $5,000 one-shot deal. Now you're going to get more money for the library?
We'll see how the commission votes on it.
It should be no. I mean, you're holding these people, you're doing the right thing, holding these people responsible for their blight problems. You're doing a great job with that. This town has to be cleaned up. But with the loss of revenue that's in Iowa Township, you should hold the library board responsible, and you should hold Elaine Erickson responsible. And you are not doing it.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
any other members of the audience who wish to comment?
I'm
on
still
items?
Pete,
Okay.
although you might want to be run, right?
Yes.
And you may say,
More people.
you may say, forget E and go to F on mine, okay? My name's Bill Erickson, I live at 713 East Air Street. And we have a situation that's somewhat related to blight, but I want to bring up a slight deviation from that. It's a residential community, and the people next door to me are using their backyard as an industrial site. So it's really, in some respects, not just blight, it's a violation of the zoning as well. And I wonder if citing it for not just blight, but for zoning can expedite the situation and improve the situation in a faster time.
What is, I'm asking a question, that's all right. What is the address of the place you're talking about?
It's, I'm 713, and that would be 717, I believe.
Okay.
And then 721 is the house that used to be owned by, or is owned by Miss Key, but she's moved out and it's up for sale. And she's, and her real estate agent, I also have concerns about that piece of property that's between the two, because it's going to either decrease the value of her property or slow down the sale of the property. But the property doesn't just have garbage there, it has like 3 vehicles, 4 trailers, ladder sets, a whole bunch of industrial materials, and these people load it up at times, take it off to a construction site, and they come back with additional stuff. You'll see a trailer leave with equipment, and then a couple hours later, another trailer comes in, incidentally. None of those trailers have license plates on them. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the information. We'll staff it into this.
Is that fair?
Yeah. All right. We're still on item E, items on the agenda. Anyone else wishes to close the voting? Okay. Takes us to item F, citizens wishing to address the commission on items that are not on the agenda. 3 minutes, please.
I have a few questions. I think we should thank Angela Lupino for giving us the silk fence that we need for the baseball field in order to put the dirt there so it doesn't enter into the body of water. Turn that thing on.
Technical difficulty.
So whenever you're speaking, you're talking about the little field.
I'm talking about the lily field. I talked to Angela, he's donated the silk fence that we've been trying to get to put up. When we're done with it, if it's in any shape or any good at all, I think it should be returned it. Also, how far from the body of water does this fence have to be? But I think you told me on the hallway that you've already marked it.
Right, I marked the location for it.
So the guys will know where to put it up. And they're gonna cut down the trees too. I guess the next question is there anything else that we have to do over there so we can get going on this? Because we just keep getting more things. After we get everything we think done, then we've got another thing. Is there anything else?
So it's been through the process, so it's,
I know that it was through the process, and I came up here screaming that one night. And that hasn't done me good. We still haven't gotten any further, because then we came putting up I call it the fishing net, and all the rest of the stuff.
Unless we have anything in particular, I know that the commission agreed to move forward to go with the plan that was developed for Little League Field. So I'd be willing to meet with you or Mr. Erickson after the meeting to discuss any of the details to get this moving. I know we have to take advantage of the fill that we're getting with the highway projects. So I mean, time might be the essence.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. Jeff and I believe Coley have talked to David Ritzela, I think he's the owner, and then his son Jason, I believe his name is. Thursday, Friday, and today, because Jeff called me this afternoon. They're ready to start dumping tomorrow, but I said they can't until such time as we put up that silk fence and cut down those trees. But Scott did say that it's all in place here, because when I talked to Jeff today, he said we should meet with Scott to make sure we're putting this thing up, and I mentioned that to Scott.
Sure.
So if you want to set a time tomorrow morning, or if you Campbell, Bob, or whoever can come, make sure that these guys are doing the right thing after work tomorrow, so they're gonna be doing it on their own time.
And just to note too, that, you know, a lot of this is being done by volunteers, so it's
It's,
important that
yeah,
we step up and help them achieve
Absolutely.
their goals.
absolutely. If Witzel finishes the project and we need more dirt over at the Lily field, and Schneller's willing to dump it, is that going to be a problem? Because you and I had talked once before that if one dumps and then the other one shouldn't because somebody has to be responsible for something. Was that going to cause us a problem or no?
They can both, I mean, technically use that as a disposal area. We were just trying to keep them separate so one could say someone else caused the problem. And I think it's a big enough place to still have one work in one area, one in another area. So
I mean, maybe Ritzel has, I wouldn't know, I don't. Does Ritzel have enough to fill that whole thing? And I have no clue.
I'm not sure how much material we're going to have to bring over there, but.
And then the other thing was, when it comes at the end, I know it has to be seated, and I'm going to assume, which we will make an ask that you need, but I'm going to assume that either Ritzel or Schneller, who's ever going to be done, or the both, will do the seating for us. If they don't, there's money that's in the memorial building that some people donated, $2,000, I think. At that time, it has to be either you or Bob, I believe, that have to do a purchase order form to purchase the seed. And then either the city guys will do it after they're done with work, to reseed it to make sure it's brought back to the specs that you want. Or do I have to file and ask these people, get the names of these people that donated the money and ask them to take it out of the city because we can't get it anyway and transfer it over to the Little League field, and I don't want to do that, so.
Sure. But we'll work with contractors that are using that spot, and hopefully they'll be able to just see it when they're done, and we'll go over that.
But if they don't, can we get that money?
The donated funds were for improvements for the Little League field, so this would be applicable. It is an improvement for the Little League field, so worst case scenario, I guess that funding could be used for that purpose if it was needed.
Yes or no? The guy back there?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We are still on item F, so if there's anybody else who wishes to address the commission's item not on the agenda, no on the agenda.
Yeah, public officers here again. And the thing I have is with Michael Brown. Michael Brown does a good job for what the agenda that he's on, with these parks and trails, the more trails and parks. He works hard and so forth and so on, but the agenda's wrong. What we need is full-time private sector jobs. You have to get Michael on the full-time private sector jobs. Michael Brown is smart enough and good enough. You'll find him. That's what we need. The full-time private sector jobs will bring more money into the community, a better quality of people into the community, and it will come, and the blight will probably leave. There will be some, but it won't be as rapid as this, as much as this. You have to, the commission and people running the city have to switch Michael Brown's agenda to full-time private sector jobs. And the first thing he can look at is what they're doing up there in northern Minnesota with the old stockpiles. It's a company called Magnetation. Get a hold of those people. Maybe they can do the same thing here. They're up to hundreds of millions of dollars up there. They're putting people to work that are making $50,000, $60,000 a year. Not these $8,000 to $9,000 jobs that are around here. Michael will do the job. It's just the agenda has to change to full-time private sector jobs. That's what we need. We don't need more parks and trails. We need full-time private sector jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Markel, 424 West Larch. City did a good job on 412 West Larch of cleaning up the property, but since they cut the grass after they took away the garbage, there's a lot of stuff still laying in the yard. There's volleyball net, there's chairs and that. And I even took out 4 truckloads of brush myself over there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Take us to old business. Item G, discuss and consider action on resolution 014-040 for the blighted property on 208 East Michigan Street.
I will recommend that we consider that blight to proceed with that. I will make that motion, sorry.
Motion by Commissioner Sim, second by Commissioner Tower, to approve resolution 014-040 for the blighted property on 208 East Michigan Street, and advise the staff to take action. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Tower.
Yes.
Care.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Carpenter.
Yes. Item H, discuss and consider action on resolution 014-041 for the blighted property at 430 Bonnie Street.
I will make a motion that we consider 430 Bonnie Street blighted and move forward as recommended. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sims, second by Commissioner Tower to approve resolution 014-041 for the blighted property on 430 Bonnie Street, and advise staff to take appropriate action. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Care.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Tower.
Yes.
Carpenter.
Yes. Item I, discuss and consider action on resolution 014-030 for the blighted property on 715 Leonard Street.
This is the property with the unlicensed vehicles and trailers there. We do have some photos of it. There was 3 vehicles and 1 trailer removed from the property. The rest of the vehicles that are left there are licensed and insured. So he did take care of the problems.
So this property is up to compliance.
Yeah, it's up to compliance with what we sent them. There is some stuff that we spoke about that, got exposed with the moving of the vehicles, and we discussed that today, and he's gonna work on that. So he did comply with what our notices asked him.
Glad to hear it.
Easy to clean up the backyard then.
So no action required in your opinion?
Action required.
New business, item J, discuss approval of road development pay package in the amount of $156,906.30 for the city of Ironwood Phase 3 project water course and local, and authorize mayor to sign all applicable documents.
This is a routine process for paying the bills, and we have multiple projects and entities. Let's contracting doing our local project on the US 2, reimbursing Michigan Department of Transportation for some of the work Snow Country's been doing, and some other bills. And we have Mike Foley here from Comm Engineering, if there's any questions, and also Chris Boyd from Rootsela Construction also.
Can you give us a little update on how things are proceeding? Are we on schedule yet?
Certainly, the local project, the Roots Loaded project is probably within a few days. Commissioner Tower being on schedule, not doing too bad. In Snow Country, in the weekly progress meetings, would indicate to the state that they've turned the corner and are advancing well. And so that's, I guess, where those 2 projects stand. Both at this point on time, targeting, of course, completion here at the end of the year. Again, keep in mind, that you do have a whole dozen blocks or so up in Norway next year. That was done by Woodsville intentionally. Thank you.
Commissioners, any further questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve the pay package as described by each. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tower, second by Commissioner Singh to approve the rural development pay package as described in item J. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Sim.
Yes.
Tower.
Yes.
Care.
Yes.
Carpenter.
Yes. Item K, discuss approval of rural development pay package in the amount of $192,494.07 for the city of Ironwood Phase 3 utility sewer portion of local, and authorize mayor to sign all applicable documents.
Make a motion to approve the pay package as described in item K. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tower, second by Commissioner Sim to approve rural pay package as described in item K. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Tower.
Yes.
Bader.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes. Item L, discuss and consider approving an agreement for project design with Coleman Engineering for the safe routes to school.
Again, this has been in the works for quite some time. Ian Shackelford was the spearhead behind this. The city did receive notice that we will be awarded, have been awarded the Safe Routes to School grant in the amount of $386,614. And again, we're partnering with the school district on that. It's for various improvements, pedestrian improvements to make it safer for kids to walk and bike to school. With that, there's a lot of engineering involved with the design and a lot of reporting that has to be made to the Michigan Department of Transportation. That's where the funding is coming from. Coleman Engineering has their proposal here for you to consider. And again, we worked through this with the budget process. We have budgeted for this. The City Commission direction was the budget for the engineering costs. That is the only cost of this project. There's a 100% grant, but we are responsible for the engineering cost. And Coleman Engineering submitted a proposal. It was $30,000. The Commission had authorized budgeting for half of that in this budget cycle and half in this next budget cycle. So over a 2-year period, we'll be budgeting for those engineering fees. So that's what's presented here for you tonight is the agreement with Coleman Engineering to perform those services on behalf of this project.
Well, it's a great project, a lot of work going into it. It's a great partnership with the community, and I'm glad to see that it's moving forward. Commissioners, any further discussion or concerns in this one?
I make a motion to approve the agreement with Coleman Engineering for the safe routes to school grant.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towers, second by Commissioner Ayers, to approve the agreement for the project design of Coleman Engineering as noted in item L. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Can I get a roll call?
Care.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Tower.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Item N for M, discuss and consider approving an agreement for project design with Coleman Engineering for the summer.
And this is a grant through the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, essentially to analyze the entire sanitary sewer and storm sewer system and come up with basically a management plan for that system. There's a lot of effort involved in this. It's a very significant project. We submitted the grant to them. Again, this was about a year ago. We're on the list this year to receive it, so we're waiting about a week or two. We hope to hear back that we will be the recipient of that grant. We have not received it yet. We are recommending moving forward, again, with the services from Coleman Engineering. I'll give you more detail into what this is including. It's very significant efforts and very significant grant. The grant amount will be $974,912.36, 100% grant for the service, and really set the tone for our going in the future on how to manage our sanitary sewer system. So with that, I'll turn it over to Paul Anderson or Mike Foley to give you a little background on what this is all going to entail.
Karen, would you have that PowerPoint available by any chance?
I do not.
Okay, so I guess I should have printed it. So I guess if the microphones aren't working, if you don't mind, if I'll just stand here. But so SAW stands for Stormwater Asset Management and Wastewater Program. I think almost every community in the state of Michigan, we kind of had this conversation some 10, 11 months ago when we applied for that. And what it is that all said and done here, you have about 48 miles of sanitary sewer and some 1,300 manholes in your community. And just for the record, in the last 5 years or so, you have changed some 375 or so, and you've replaced about 12 miles of your 48 miles of pipes. You have 25% of it that's less than 5 years old. And that's not many communities in the UP can say that, I'm sure. So congratulations to this commission and this community. And of course, the advantage to that is that we're funding that at relatively good rates and or grants through rural development and moving these projects forward. Okay. And then additionally here, you have something along the lines of about 900 storm sewer structures, meaning manholes or catch basins, and don't hold me to this, but I think it's right close to about 21 miles of pipe. And over the last 4 years or so, and this includes completion of phase 3, which is also next year's project up in Norrie, the stuff that's being done this year, and next year's MDOT work, you'll change about, again, it's about 1/5 of the pipe and about 1/5 of the storm manhole structures. So you really have a good basis here. However, you still have essentially 75 or so, 75 to 80% of your system that's old, significantly old. I had a couple pictures here of some nice old brick manholes that you have in town. And the state of Michigan has offered you a grant, 100% grant I might add, to study that system. And so the basic project evolves around using with a survey crew and survey grade GPS is to locate all of these structures, okay? And make a base map, if you will, of the whole system. And then with smoke testing and televising, and some pipes will get both smoke tested and televised, but between those two methodologies, the entire system will get analyzed for what kind of condition the pipes are in. Every single manhole will get open, and there's a form, a condition assessment form that will get filled out for each one. And I guess in a nutshell, let's just say by the time we're all said and done, you'll have a map, an accurate map, and the entire system will know what the state of that system is in. Additionally, the system will also include the implementation of a GIS graphic information system. And so part of this grant is, of the $974, it's something around $80,000, will be to put a server here in City Hall, and your GIS system will reside here, and all of that information will be housed here. It also includes the purchase of 3 tablets that your city staff, managers, and your men on the street can use to update that GIS system or look things up with some GPS capabilities and phone capabilities within these notepads. It's pretty cutting edge stuff, really. Additionally, we will also look at the entire system and look for the potential problem areas and perhaps where some of your next projects, if you so choose, would lie. And additionally, you'd also look at, part of it is to analyze the rate structure and make sure that you're adequately covering your costs. Now, I can assure you, as can Paul, that under the incredible scrutiny of rural development, your rate structure is in good shape, I assure you. But part of the grant is that you promise to do that. There'll be a televising subcontractor, I guess what we're talking about, to Coleman, that will get on board here in the next couple of weeks. There'll also be an IT firm, if you will, that will help you set up this GIS system. And the city staff gets reimbursed whenever they help. And so if your city sewer department is out cleaning manholes or doing manhole inspections, you get those costs paid for. So you can actually, in addition to being 100% grant, you have the ability to bring some money into the city coffers directly as well. I think I hit the highlights here, probably took a little too long, but can I answer any questions about it?
Well, I think this is more of a question for you, Scott. I mean, I'm pretty excited about that. That's really cool. But we haven't gotten the grant yet.
Correct.
So why would we be approving this today when we haven't received it? I mean,
Very good question.
all right.
Again, we anticipate to receive that shortly. It's probably a timing issue right now. If you do approve it tonight, it would be contingent upon receipt of that grant. And the reason is just time of year. I know our home engineering employees to put some boots on the ground out there and start doing some survey work out there this fall. And again, because of the time of year, they want to try to get the road running as soon as that grant is approved. So tonight, it would be, if you do approve it, it would be contingent upon receiving that grant.
And just to add to that, we've been talking with the MDEQ. Ironwood is number 2 in line to receive these monies. It's pretty much a guarantee that they will be receiving the money, and that they expect those grant agreements to be sent out within the next couple weeks. And so that's why we're here at tonight's meeting. If the grant could come in tomorrow, and we would be authorized to get men on the ground and start working on this. We're going to be up against the clock with the winter conditions coming down shortly here, and that's why we've come with this here this evening.
Awesome. Thank you.
I
make a motion that we approve project design for the saw grant of comm engineering contingent upon receipt of the grant.
Motion by Commissioner Sims, second by Commissioner Talley, to approve the agreement for project design with comm engineering for the saw grant contingent on receiving the actual grant. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? In the roll call?
Sim,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Care,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Item N, discuss and consider introducing ordinance number 505, Book 5, rezoning property on Florence Street from R4 to C3.
Again, this is a rezoning process, and it is rezoning R4 to highway commercial, which is C3. And the project is essentially the airport, if you know what that is in the US too. That project, they own a lot behind them or to the north of them. They are developing that for some parking in that area, and they need to rezone that property. And they are going through that process. It's been through the planning commission, they held a public hearing. What you do is manage receiving it, and then at the next meeting, consider approval of that. We do have Francis Casanova here, he's the owner, if there are any specific questions of this project.
I think it's moving along just fine, and I'm just here to observe and hope that the city works on this. Thank you.
I think it's very important that we work with businesses, especially with the things that are going on with the US too. So this is great, and you're happy with the progress, and I'm assuming. Okay, any concerns that have been?
No, it's like I said, been through the process, they had a public hearing, and the planning commission is recommending approval of it also. But tonight is just receiving it, and at the next meeting, we'll bring it back for your consideration for approval.
Commissioners, any further questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion, introducing ordinance 505 as described in item N. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towler, second by Commissioner Sim, to receive the introduction of ordinance number 505, with fire rezoning property on Florence Street from R4 to C3. Any further discussions or concerns on this item? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. MO, discuss and consider authorizing advertising to bid for ditch and winter street sand.
Bob, you want to touch on this? Maybe this is the next item.
Sure. Again, we know the winter that we had, and we are running short of ditch sand and winter sand. Ditch sand is for filling our ditches and holes that remain break. Obviously, the winter street sand can be mixed with salt, and that will be helping our roads to thaw quicker and keep them safe.
I'll make a motion to authorize advertising for the ditch and winter street sand.
Motion by Commissioner Towers, second by Commissioner Sim, to authorize the advertisement to bid for ditch and winter street sand. Any further discussion or concerns? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item P, discuss and consider authorizing advertisement to bid for road gravel.
It's basically the same thing. We'll be advertising for 22 acres gravel to top off our ditches for main breaks, any other problems that we have on our roads or gravel roads or whatever. So we're requesting you to follow us into it.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towers, second by Commissioner Sim, to approve authorizing advertisements to bid for road gravel. Any further discussions or concerns? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item Q, discuss and consider authorizing advertisement to bid for self-contained breathing apparatus cylinders for the Department of Public Safety.
Going through the budget process, we budgeted the 3 SCBA cylinders. Fire Officer Center was able to write an EFT micro grant. We're going to leverage the money we budgeted. We did receive a grant for just over $14,000. So it was budgeted for, and we were able to leverage that to obtain 24 cylinders versus the 3 we planned on. So they do have a life expectancy of 15 years. So they're expiring this year. So.
Commissioners, any questions or concerns?
I'll make a motion to
Commissioner Towers, second by Commissioner Sims, to authorize advertising to bid for the self-contained breathing apparatus cylinders for the Department of Public Safety. Any further discussion or concerns? All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item R, discuss and consider a permanent traffic control order for no parking in front of St. Vincent de Paul, 216 West Aurora.
I was approached earlier this spring. We had a temporary traffic control order in front of St. Vincent de Paul. They had parking near their door. They have a parking lot next to their building. This obstructed the view of people entering and exiting the parking lot. It was considered a traffic hazard. I did speak with Wells Fargo and the Midway Bar, two people that would be affected by the loss of parking. Wells Fargo has a parking lot, and Midway said that would not be a problem. So I feel it would be a safety concern that will be addressed, and would recommend that we.
I will make a motion that we let's see here, place a permanent traffic order for no parking in front of 216 West Aurora Street.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sims, second by Commissioner Towers, to approve a permanent traffic control order for no parking in front of St. Vincent de Paul on 216 West Aurora Street. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Would you roll call?
Tower.
Yes.
Care.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Item S, discuss and consider rejecting bid for the demolition of structure 227 East Aurora Street and authorize rebidding. This is the building adjacent to Carnegie Library and the O'Kenny Studio.
Well, the bad news is, we received a bid, it was quite high, we only received one bid. I guess the good news is, all our local contractors right now are very busy, and the ones that would normally bid on this did not bid. So we're recommending rejecting the bid. We'll go out and rebid it over the winter time, and quite often you'll see, hopefully, a better bidding environment where the contractors need to work, and it's in the time frame that works better with their availability. So we're recommending rejecting the bid and authorizing us to go out and rebid that.
And I believe the library, the DIDA, and the city have kind of all expressed a third ownership of this project, but not to exceed a certain amount, I believe.
Well, the ownership, again.
The DID is going to put in a certain amount.
Yeah, the DID is committed to a certain dollar amount.
Okay.
I think the city, if I recall, committed to a third, and then the library is picking up the balance of it. So again, we want to keep the cost down as best we can. Again, that property is an extremely bright light property. We've had the concept, I call it pleasure, but the experience of going through the building to look at it with the demolition contractors, and it is in tough shape. So it's a building that in our downtown absolutely needs to come down. When you want to talk about the lighting structure, it's in tough shape.
So we've gone in there to explore any asbestos concerns that might need to be addressed prior to receiving a bid.
Yeah, excellent question. Yes, there is a separate process before we have a demolition contractor take the building down. We have a environmental consultant go in, do a report on what needs to be taken out of there. Usually it's asbestos type materials. We have received the report. We're going to have to go out and basically get quotes for that work to come back. Because there will be environmental work that needs to be taken out first before it's demolished. So we're working on that at the same time.
So, how much does the library have set aside for this project?
We have to ask. I don't know right offhand what their budget is for this, so we can ask them and bring that back for you.
I don't have the numbers either. I don't know if there's talks of, they're looking for improvements and grants. It's something they could do as well.
Sure.
Well, knowing that, like, demolition is going to be, what in your estimation should the bids be for an acceptable?
For demolition, I'll probably look to Dennis. I know we've taken a few buildings downtown over the past few years, and
we were looking maybe around the 25,000 rate, but the bids came in way higher than that.
And then for demolition, then you have the environmental cost on top of that, in addition to that, I should say.
So, like, was this just a joke on their part to try and do this, or why would they even bother?
I'm not sure.
Maybe to add to that, the bidding environment, again, if everybody's busy, your costs go up. That's just the nature of contracting bidding projects out. There's also some things in the bid that we're going to change. We're trying to save a wall, use it as a retaining wall. That got to be very expensive. I think we heard numbers upwards of $20,000 to try to save that wall. well, it's not worth saving for that kind of cost, so we're gonna do something a little different. Basically to fill that area in and not have to save that wall. There's some things we'll do differently when we restructure the bid specs also, that will hopefully bring that cost back down also.
All right, so realistically, is the library really going to be able to fund the cost for the demolition plus asbestos? I mean, if we're, let's say it's even in the middle of that, like $30,000, $40,000, I mean, you guys are, the contractors are gonna be busy next summer too. Where are they gonna come from? I don't think that the work's gonna slow down anytime soon.
We're already doing it over the winter time. I mean, now, there will be some projects that carry over to winter into next year possibly, but typically, again, you never know for sure, each contract is different, but typically, their workload comes into play in the winter time. That's when you get out projects, they get different contracts that they're awarded. So quite often your bidding environment is better during that period. There's no guarantee on anything, but it's definitely worth rebidding the project to see if we can get that cost down. And also changing the bid specs to change a few things in there that could hopefully bring that cost down. Again, we'll see, bid it out and see what the environment is before we stay for.
I mean, the city owns this property now, correct?
Correct, yes.
I mean, what we're going to be, what I don't want to happen is for the city to be on the hook for this really horrible property, and we're going to end up paying $30,000 or $40,000 when the city or the library is going to bankrupt the library because we can't do anything with it because it's going to be too expensive.
We'll see when we bring the bids back. Like Dennis said, we kind of have an anticipated value for that work. Whether we get it for that price or not, we don't know until we can actually get out and bid it. Just looking at the nature of that building would have more than likely reverted to public ownership at some point anyway. It might have taken 2, 3, 4 years. It was in such a state that I would comfortably say that nobody would probably try to rehab that building, Dennis. It was, so ultimately those type of buildings end up back in front of this board typically anyway. We've had a few of those in the downtown area over the past few years. Just probably one of the more recent examples that the city took on was, I can't remember the name of the business, it's now the open space next to Book World. Sharon's place. And that took years because it went through the process of tax revertment, and finally the city ended up taking that building down. And this would probably be a similar situation. I don't know if there's a silver lining to it or not, but we'd probably end up back in front of the commission at some point. It might take many years to get there. And good, bad, or indifferent, I guess it's coming 2 years before I got there. But we'll see.
We spent the process along by 2-3 years, but they were, like you said, it was go back on taxes.
Very, very.
That's the reason. That's why I accepted the building to take, because it's just credit. It's not a tester for 2-3 years.
It's unfortunate he's going into this state, but you know, that's the cards we're dealt, I guess.
We're here tonight to reject a bid, so commissioners, any more information or questions?
Make a motion to reject the bid.
And authorize rebidding.
The demolition of 227 Florida Street.
Motion by Commissioner Towers, second by Commissioner Sim to reject the bid for demolition of the structure at 227 East Aurora Street and authorize the rebidding process. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Care.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Power.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Item T, discuss approval of payment number 2 to Mumplex Seating for the furnace at the downtown parkway.
Okay, the city's under contract with, or Mumplex Seating is under contract with the city, and this is a partial payment to them. They've been working on the heating ventilating system for the downtown Arts Place building. It is covered under a grant that was previously received. So this is just a partial payment to them. They're moving along. They're probably in the neighborhood of 60-70% complete. They still have some ductwork that they're finishing up down on that project. We are recommending approval of this partial payment.
Make a motion to approve the partial payment as described. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towers, second by Commissioner Sim to approve payment number 2 to Mumplex Seating as described in item T. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Sim.
Yes.
Power.
Yes.
Care.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Item U, discuss and consider change order number 1 for the Paddle Civic Center wall repair with Lindy's Construction Company.
Yeah, last winter, the walls at the Civic Center were damaged due to snow falling off the roof and against the building. So we are utilizing insurance funds to pay for that work. There was a little bit of extra work that came out that was not part of the original bid that had to get done on the front canopy, some wood that was rotted, that type of thing. So that amounted to additional $732.95 for that project. So we are recommending that change order for this project. And the contractor is just finishing up the work. I think we have a couple panels to finish.
A motion to approve the change order as described in item U.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towler, second by Commissioner Kayer to approve change order number 1 as described in item U. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Tower.
Yes.
Kayer.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Item D, consider a proclamation declaring Saturday, September 20th, 2014 as Mining Memorial Heritage Day.
And we do have Mr. Costello back here too. I don't know if you want to touch on this a little bit? What's going on?
Yeah, just briefly, we've been doing these vigils every September for the past H9, and we usually have about 6 o'clock vigil out there at the park. This year we decided we want to expand that into the whole afternoon of activities. Starting at the mural at noon, we're going to invite people to come and tell their own stories, bring their own pictures, and have a kind of a discussion going on over there. The Iron County Historical Society will be open from 10 till 2 at least. Ironwood Historical Society is going to have a guide there from 1 to 5. We'll walk through the mining exhibit there. Ed Sandine from Bessemer, who's the mining expert and has actually worked in past stage, will be at the depot with his slideshow. Plus, there's the DVD of the 1940s parades in Ironwood that Gary Harrington wants to show. And if you saw over here for a bond drive and other parades and things that are going on. The Historic Ironwood Theater is going to have their Barton organ playing from 1:15 to 1:45. We're looking to do a memorial building tour from 2 to 3, and then inviting everybody to go over to the Iron Nugget. They've got all those mining displays up on their wall at 4, and then head over to the vigil at 6. So that's our plan. So the proclamation supports that. We'll be doing, I'll be going home and doing a press release tonight on it. Should go out to the papers this week, we'll try and get something in next week, and we'll also social media advertising. Just so that instead of just getting 20 people out there in the woods with candles, see if we can get people from the area to show up and spend an afternoon here and look at the mining.
Is it the 20th?
20.
I want to confirm the date. I see 2 different dates you had on here. I apologize for that. It would be the 20th.
Thank you. So we have a lot of great things going on to support the heritage of our area. Commissioners, any additional information or questions, concerns?
We had mines active in 95, I'm just reading the proclamation here. It says 1884 and 1995.
It's from a previous proclamation that they did.
Not sure what time White Pine finally, I think they were kind of, I'm not sure.
Is that White Pine that they're considering?
Yeah. I'm guessing that was probably some level right there.
There's nothing aware of.
There probably wasn't much going on there at that time.
There was a lot of people from here that was there.
Yes.
September 30th, 95 that was the last day for White Pine.
Okay. Thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve the proclamation as described in item B. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towler, second by Commissioner Kayer to approve the proclamation as described in item B. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? Roll call.
Kayer.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Tower.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Item W, manager's report.
Just a few items to highlight. We went through a lot of projects tonight. One additional project that the Commission had awarded here a couple weeks ago was our local street paving project with Angelo Lupino. So So they've been out diligently going through the pound, patching a lot of the street patches that are out there that were due to the water main breaks that occurred over last winter. So you'll see their trucks pretty much all around town. And then they'll be working on a local street paving project in about 2 weeks. The pulverizer coming in, and then they'll be shaping some of those streets and doing some overlays. So with that, again, we had an update on the other projects. They're moving along fine again. Hopefully the weather will continue to, or will cooperate. That's always a challenge this time of year. Just a reminder to everybody, we touched on this last time, but we are having a fall drop-off program here this Saturday. That's where people can bring anything they want to get rid of. We have dumpsters set up for people waste, and it'll be from 8 to 11 a.m. And I invite anybody to come down from the city of Ireland that needs to get rid of some refuse. It's another way to fight blight, and it's been very effective for the city. And again, we want to thank our volunteers. We've had great volunteers that help unload cars, staff, other groups and organizations that have helped. This year, we're actually, we've got the Fighting Youpers to come out and help. The hockey team is going to be there to help unload some of the cars. So we want to thank them for being a part of the community. They're in the community. They had a great venue this past weekend with their first hockey games going on. And it was really, if you made it out there, it was really a fun night to watch them play hockey. Get that going. It's nice having them in the community. We are going to have 2 public informational meetings on the proposed, on the street millage referendum. That's going to be out to vote in November. And that's going to be Wednesday, October 8th and Wednesday, October 29th at 6 p.m. here at the Memorial Building. So we have a venue to answer any questions. We'll go through the mechanics of what that means, what we'll be proposing to do with the millage, if it is approved, and just an opportunity for people to come in and ask questions if they have any questions they'd like answered. We also have that fact sheet, Paul, I think, out on the city website. So if anybody wants to look at that, they can go out there and take a look, try to answer some of the standard questions that people ask on something like that. A property that came up at the last couple of meetings was a church on Air and Mansfield, the old church that had burned over there. We saw that that had been taken care of. Again, that was taken care of by the property owners. They hired a contractor and got that work done. It seemed to go a little, kind of in fits and starts, and but they did get it done, and that site looks good. You have it, the building been removed, and the site has been seeded and mulched. We're going to be coordinating with the volunteer bow hunters that help us with the city bow hunt. And again, there's a mandatory meeting every year with them. They come in. There's all the rules and regulations that we go through with them. City staff, DNR staff, and the bow hunters come in and go through all the rules and regulations. That's going to be this it's going to be Thursday, September 18th at 4:30 in the building. And any of the prospective bow hunters are invited to attend that meeting. There's also a venue going on. It's not right here in the city, but it's something that probably a lot of people may want to participate in. There's going to be a ORV, Veterans Run for the Color, ORV ride coming up in September, on September 27th. And there's a group working on that, basically to recognize our veterans in the area for all that they've done for us, and also to promote the ORV that we have in the area. It's a nice mixture of things. It's going to occur over at the Wakefield DFW, and I understand they're going to do a ride out in the back, and then have a little picnic supper for the riders. So that should be getting more information out there for anybody that would want to participate in that. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Scott. Item X, other matters. I'll start, and there's something to say, guys. Just want to thank Paul for his input, and I do also think that Michael Brown does a good job. I jotted down a few things that he does do. He works with the Economic Development Corp to revolve loans and block grants, the Industrial Development Corp to foster business growth in the area. He also works with state reps. The comprehensive plan has been awesome, and he's developed an unmeasured problem. So kudos to Michael, he's doing a good job, and thank you, Paul, for just the suggestions, just to improve your work.
Absolutely. There are some interesting things going on there. Industrial Park with some of the businesses, some very positive things that he's working with them on. And we have some really, really excellent businesses in our industrial park that are continuing to expand and add jobs to the community. And Michael works directly with them on that. So.
And I just have one more note. Over the past couple of years that we worked to develop the depot park, and it's come to be a gem. I believe there's a lot of activity going on there, a lot of events. Again, like with the farmers market, we have people renting it out. It's been a great, great project. We did go down to Detroit last year in Lansing, and we did win the Community Excellence Award for the depot park. And now we are featured on the cover of the Review magazine. It's a Michigan Municipal League magazine. So this again is a lot of PR. This goes to cities throughout the state of Michigan, and it'll be available for tourists. And this does have a focus on the UP. So we have some of our mountain bikers and utility sports vehicle. And the depot has just been great. I'm glad to see that things are moving forward with it. And I hope that we the city, and we, the citizens, can keep it fresh as we move forward. It's an awesome spot. And that is all I have for the moment.
Speaking on the things that you said, Mr. Rossich, and I would like to direct this toward you, Scott. Since I've been here on the commission, what's something that I would like to see more than anything else is some innovative ideas that we have to garner business growth. When we start talking about tax-free areas or something, we need to start getting creative and being ahead of the curve when it starts. I need to start seeing some things. I mean, the grants and stuff are awesome, and our parks and things are a key, as we know from our comprehensive project. But we need to start doing things creatively if we're going to start getting businesses back to the area. So I think that's something that I'd like to see come from the city departments here to at least start getting us in the right direction.
And what we can do is maybe focus at a commission meeting too. I know we bring the business of the city to the commission here every 2 weeks, and we probably don't talk as much about the things, activities that are going on with local area businesses. And two things, maybe bring that back to a little forum, what is going on right now, and then get some feedback and some discussion on what additional things can and should we be doing. But there are a lot of things that are going on right now behind the scenes that we probably should just toot our horn on a little bit. And also look for some input and some ideas on, some additional things that can be worked on and goals to achieve. So I think that's a great idea.
Any other matter? Item Y, adjournment.
To adjourn.
Motion